Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Hubbardston Select Board, Monday, May 19th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. A note to everyone that this is, as always, the meeting is being digitally recorded, so please be respectful of each other as you're speaking as well as when you're listening to each other. First thing we'll do is, why don't we do your announcements then?
Yep. Alright, so I got a double fister here today, so bear with me here. So first list is, coming up this weekend, we have the chicken barbecue on May 25th down at the Rod and Gun. They are serving at 2 p.m. It is $15 a person. It's open to anyone that wants to pay for the ticket. And they are also having other things to go along with it, like cornhole and stuff like that. So it's going to be like a day event down there. So if you'd like some tickets, go down to the Rod and Gun. Memorial Day Parade is going to be the next day, Memorial Day, Monday, May 26th at 11 a.m. Line up down at the rec field if you're going to be in the parade, and that's about like 10:30ish, 10:45 at the latest. We'll walk down Main Street. We'll have a ceremony over here at the church, common, first meeting house, depending on what you want to call it today. And then usually we come over to the seniors, and there's fun things over here as well. Comet Pond Cottages and More on May 29th at 7 p.m. at the Williamsville Chapel. This is being presented by the Hubbardston Historical Society. There's also going to be a townwide yard sale on May 31st. You have till, what day was it, 28th to sign up, I believe, to be on the list. The townwide yard sale is 8 to 2, and you're going to email the Parks Department to get on the list. The email address is hubbardston.ma.parks@gmail.com. And again, that is for May 31st from 8 to 2, the townwide yard sale. Annual town meeting is June 2nd at 7 p.m. at Hubbardston Center School. The Hubbardston Fair is June 7th with the rain date of the 8th from 9 to 2 at the Hubbardston Rec Field, Curtis Rec Field. The Rod and Gun is having a golf tournament on June 8th. It's at Quail Hollow Golf Course in Ocam. You can get teams together and participate. Again, see the Rod and Gun. The annual town elections is on June 17th. This date has moved from the 10th, so it's the 17th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Hubbardston Center School. Now, here's the second page. This is from the town clerk. Had to print this out because it's lengthy, so bear with me. All right. Voting by mail and absentee voting will be available for town election. Applications are available online or at the town clerk's office. Your mail-in application must reach your local election officials by 5 p.m. on June 10th, 2025, no matter when the application is postmarked. Your application must be at the local election office by the deadline. Apply as early as possible, especially if your ballot will need to be mailed out of town. The Postal Service recommends allowing up to 7 days for mail delivery to ensure that you receive, hold on, I lost my spot, sorry. You receive your ballot with enough time to mail back. You should apply 2 to 3 weeks before election day. You can also put applications in the drop box at the town offices. Just to be clear, the town offices are now located at 48 Gardner Road in Hubbardston. In-person early voting for June 17th, 2025 annual town election will be held Saturday, June 7th from 9 to 5. They can register to vote on this day and then vote in person as well. Monday, June 9th from 8 to 6. Tuesday, June 10th through Thursday, June 12th from 8 to 4. The last day to register to vote for June 2nd, 2025 annual town meeting is Friday, May 23rd, 2025. The town clerk's office will be open 9 to 5 to accommodate this deadline. The last day to register to vote for the June 17th, 2025 annual town election is Saturday, June 7th, 2025. The town clerk's office will be open 9 to 5 to accommodate this deadline. The town clerk will also be at the Hubbardston Fair if people would like to apply at the fair. Town offices have moved to Gardner, 48 Gardner Road. Sorry, she put that in. All right. That is all.
Can I ask if that has already been put on the town site?
It has.
It has, okay, so,
Can I have
You're
your other
gonna-
one too?
so
Huh?
Can I have your other one too?
Oh, yeah, I need that back.
so they can
That's my scribbling marks.
look it up themselves.
Yeah.
They're confused.
Yeah, that was, she sent it to me in email. She's like, read this exactly the way I put it. I said, okay.
Was that your last one?
Yes, that
Oh,
was it.
Okay. Thank you. Any other announcements, reports? Nothing? All right, we will go to open session at this particular point in time, and Mr. Blanchard?
Ed Blanchard, 23 East Comet Pond Road.
You can
Well-
sit if you'd like, Ed, be comfortable,
Thank you.
I won't bite the face.
one senior to another.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could have stood the whole performance. I'll try and keep this short. I apologize to the board for not getting on the agenda, which I normally would do, but I just found out today that this is your last meeting, and the next meeting is in June, and it's gonna be before this important event comes up. I'm working, and Pam Mitchell from the Assacommon Pond Association, teaming with Bill Shea to try and get an important artifact that was in Hubbardston back to Hubbardston. In 1893, a Marian and Frederick Pollard pulled out of Comet Pond a dugout canoe. And in the old days, what they used to do was the dugout canoes that they made, they would put underneath the water in the wintertime so they wouldn't dry out and crack, and then take them out in the spring and use them. That's why it was in the pond. There's also 3 more of these dugout canoes that are in Lake Quinsigamon. This was pulled out in 1983 and was donated to the Worcester Historical Museum. And it still is there, but we found out that they are no longer displaying the canoe. They don't have room to display it, but they also, the canoe is filled with mold. It has a lot of mold on it, so they really can't display it anymore. And so this presents an opportunity for the Comet Pond Association, Bill Shea, and also the town to recover this historical artifact and maybe bring it back to Hubbardston. So, normally Bill Shea would be here, but he's out of town tonight. And Pam Mitchell, I didn't have, I tried to get her here, but just short notice. But anyway, here's what we're gonna propose to the Historical Society, Worcester Historical Museum, on the 12th of June. That we would take responsibility for the canoe. We would professionally get it demolded. We would bring it to Hubbardston to be placed in Bill Shea's museum. And we would build a plexiglass case around it such that it would be in the museum for most of the time, but if we wanted to bring it to an event like the fair or field day, that it'd be in a plexiglass case, and we could actually bring it around, which would make it somewhat of a tourist attraction as well. This is our preliminary first meeting. We have no idea at all as to how successful or unsuccessful we will be, but we're gonna give it our best shot. We've met with the Hubbardston Historical Commission and talked with the Hubbardston Society, Historical Society, and we're getting letters of support from both of those organizations to support the project that we're trying to do to get it back here. Long term, yes, it would be at the Shea Museum, and it would be owned by the museum. And if the town got to a place where they had a possibility of displaying it, if we ever had the Historical Society and Commission with a building where they might be able to display it, then it could be considered to perhaps gift it back to the town. There's some financing involved to build the plexiglass case and also get it demolded, which we're working on private financing to do that. So it would not cost the town anything. The town would not be involved, but why I'm here is we're trying to get letters of support that we can show the Worcester Historical Museum that we've got a lot of people in town that really would like to see this be returned to Hubbardston, its original place. So what I'd be asking of you, and I'll take questions afterward, what I've been asking of the board is that you might take a vote tonight that you would support that project and have the town administrator draft a letter of support that you would sign at a later date, so that we could have it and include it in our package that we're gonna present to the museum. So that's the overview of it.
I have a
Question.
question, Jim. Out of curiosity, have any of you seen the shape that it's in? You said you know that it has mold. I was just curious how
We can pass
movable it
these, we
is.
can pass these around. We have not.
If it's fragile, can you transport it?
I've contacted a professional demolder from Worcester, and I have a hazmat suit so that when we get to the museum for the meeting, that I can get in and take pictures of it and figure out, maybe take some scrapings of the mold so that we can know what we're dealing with and that. But no, none of us have seen it. We're not even sure at this preliminary meeting whether they're gonna say we can or can't.
When it was first discovered, you said 1983?
1893.
1893.
And the canoe dates back to 1600.
Well, that was my next question. Did you ever find out how far back that does go?
1600s.
17th century,
So-
wow.
Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
You were next.
I just want to point out that my office did know about this. We had a conversation with Mr. Kangas and Mr. Shea. The conversation with Mr. Shea was more about how he would be the conservator or conservatorship of the canoe. I did let him know that there was a very likely situation that the town would never be able to financially take on this canoe. Him and his son, his daughter's in the room, did not express any concern with that. This is a historically relevant piece. Mel is doing some background investigation into this. I support the writing of the letter and am willing to draft one if authorized, obviously, but I do think there is a little bit more legal and just operational lift before this is done, but at this point in time, I see no harm in supporting them in their journey to bring this canoe home. I do believe we will at some point have to talk to the Native American tribe that may also have a stake to this canoe dugout, but that is something we will working towards. I appreciate you calling and coming out tonight. I didn't know of this meeting. If the select board wishes to support it, they can authorize me to draft a letter on their behalf, and I can get it to you by the end of the week. So we'll be able to, if that's their wish, we'll be able to get it to you fairly
Yes,
quickly.
the canoe has Nipmuc Indian origin, and it'll be up to the Worcester Historical Museum to decide whether they wish to get that involvement or not.
You've done a little bit of digging into this as well, correct? Patricia really is into historical stuff, so whenever that.
Patricia has an archaeology degree with a certificate in Native American Studies. So the dugout canoe, it is most likely, or was gifted by another indigenous community because they use barter. The big thing is that if it was donated to the Worcester Historical, if it ever was brought up that they were not taking care of it properly, so that's gonna be a small can of worms that's gonna get the lid pried open. And I can tell you that if, there's a couple of resources I can reach out to. Most likely the thing is that the indigenous group is going to ask for it back so that it can be repatriated, which is given back to their community, and then they do a ceremony that it comes back into the collections. We're seeing it across, Barry had some artifacts that were asked to be given back and repatriated, but that may not be the case. I would have to reach out to those resources to see. But I can help you navigate. UMass Amherst has a huge wealth of resources.
Well, I think the first step would be to decide, let the museum, Worcester Museum decide what path they wanna take. We are getting a letter from the Marian descendants who actually found the canoe.
Yep.
That strong letter that says, yes, this was an artifact that belonged to them by salvage rights, and that, yes, it's, was gifted, but they would like to see it returned to Hubbardston because there's still so many Marians that live here.
Correct.
And that, but I will definitely reach out to you. If it goes in that direction, we're gonna need all the support we can need. And the Nipmuc Indian Association is aware of 3 of these that are in Quinsigamond.
Yeah.
And they've made it such that that area where the canoes are in, nobody can dive there, and they've protected that area. But they've also made those available, but nothing has been done by the Nipmuc.
Most likely they'll leave them where they are.
Ed, you mentioned that the exam is not exhibiting it anymore.
No.
Did you get the impression that they're not likely to?
Yes, I think there were 2 issues.
So it's basically in the
One was in the basement,
Yeah.
and that's a picture of it.
Well, I'm only asking because this seems to be a good argument in the sense
Yeah,
there'll
this
be
is a
another chance
picture of
to
it when
exhibit
it
it.
was, but
To
it-
Bill, and to be seen again. If it's just gonna sit there and they have no intention of bringing it back out to,
Yeah.
I would think they wouldn't have too much of an objection to.
Well, we're prepared if it does go the longer route, and we would, I guess we would request from them if they think that we're a good alternative for it. First of all, they've got to decide that they want to,
Release it.
not have it in the museum anymore. The second would be how they would like to send it to another museum, or whether they'd like to,
Sure.
get the Nipmuc tribe involved.
Any of
We,
the other board members have any?
I just
Questions or
want to
thoughts?
say a statement. My question's already been answered, so. Obviously, they don't have interest in it because where it is in the basement with mold in it, it's not helping the mold situation, probably. So it's just causing injury to the piece, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm all about it.
Mr. Chairman, would you accept the motion?
Absolutely, yes.
I was unaware we were done answering questions,
Yes.
okay,
No.
sorry.
I'm good.
Okay,
All set.
Betty, go.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we direct our town administrator to author or draft a letter in support of
The reclamation.
there you go, the reclamation and exploration of the canoe prospects that are in Worcester, and to further authorize you as chairman to sign the letter on behalf of the whole select board.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions or further discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. We thank you. Good luck.
Well, thank you,
Keep us posted and
Yeah,
we'll.
definitely.
And thank Bill.
It's a bit of a long shot, but you know what? You don't get in the race.
Yeah.
Sometimes long shots win.
There you
I
go.
mean, if they're the curator, not curator, if they're in possession of it and they're
Well, they
caring
can
for
find
it, they're not caring for it very well, as far as I'm concerned.
It's a 17th century canoe, I mean, my God, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
So we wanna really help
Forgot
them
where they put it.
keep this artifact in good shape
Right.
and be able to have the public view it.
I'd
Thank
like
you.
to see it.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.
When's your meeting, Ed?
June 12th.
The 12th of June.
Alright, so I'll reach out to you next week sometime and we'll
Okay, we can get together and
Yeah.
draft.
And please thank Bill also, and for us too. Kelly, you're up.
All right, excellent. Next. Guess I could just leave my stuff
Wait a minute,
there.
did we give tickets today?
Yes, there was, you were late.
Yeah, you missed it.
didn't get them. There was a little deli counter.
Yep,
one,
yep.
um,
So Kellyanne Icaboni, 49 Morgan Road, but I'm actually here on behalf of the Lions Club today. We have a request in to host a boot drive in June. So this will be the first one in many years with the new safety policy, so hopefully won't be the last one.
They have their insurance, the chief has signed off on this, they have their safety plan. So for all intents and purposes, this is good to go with your approval.
I mean, I have a copy of the application. Oh, you have it? Okay.
Mr. Chair, as a member in good standing of the Hubbardson Lions Club, I'm gonna recuse myself from this vote or any
Mm-hmm.
conversation about the subject. Thank you.
Okay. And if you wish to make any comments, feel free to.
I have a question.
ahead.
The boot drive is for collecting donations,
Correct,
obviously.
yep.
For muscular dystrophy or
No,
for
just
you
the
guys?
Lions
Oh,
Club,
for
and
Lions
then,
Club.
yep,
Okay.
the money stays in town,
All right,
so.
I was just,
Yep,
wanted to know
Just
where
another
it was
fundraiser.
headed.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
yeah, nothing earmarked, it's
Yeah,
just a
awesome.
collection will go into our charitable fund.
And Nate, we're gonna put this on our social media page so folks know both, A, not to run them over,
Yeah,
but B,
please.
No
you know, that this is
I've already been run
happening.
over a couple
If you wanna
times, so.
send me, when you have a flyer, if you have a flyer, I don't know if people make flyers for these, but when I can let people know, like, hey, we haven't done this in a while,
Yeah.
so just be aware, and we can push that out
Yeah.
both on the website to a town blast via email and
Oh,
on the
excellent,
Facebook page.
yeah, thank you, yep.
If we think it would be pertinent, we could do a reverse 911, but I don't know, I think that might be a little bit overkill.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, that would be great, but, our intention is obviously to have it on a Sunday, so we get that extra traffic with Rieta. So, and we've had, you know, many in years past that have been quite successful, so.
What would be the hours roughly?
8 AM to 2 PM, and the intention is to have, maybe 10 or 12 volunteers, maybe a couple hours each shift, so everyone, you know, stays alert and just, somewhere on Main Street, I think between 14 and 22 is what Chief Kuchar had recommended.
Well, the police have already been brought in on this.
Yep, yeah,
okay.
we had, Chris, actually, Borrego and I had a
Oh, okay.
meeting with him, he and I are kind of on this committee. He gave us, the area that he wanted us to, set up. And, you know, we kind of talked about what we would do for safety, and then I wrote a safety plan and, submitted it, you know, last week. But I did, you know, give it to, Chief Kuchar, and he signed off on it Friday, I think it was.
Do you have specific dates in mind that you'd like to do it?
June 22nd is what we had said, with a rain date of the 29th.
It's actually on, I think, the consent agenda.
Yep.
I didn't see
So
the
I don't
dates.
know if we wanted to have it as part of the consent agenda, if you wanted to pull it since.
Well, before you arrived, the town administrator had requested I move it up.
Oh,
Because
I just
Kelly
missed
is
that
here.
mentally.
Since she was here, okay, so we'll
So
take
we
it
should
separately.
Yeah.
sit through the fun zoning stuff.
Again, it was June,
Riveting.
what, Kelly, 22nd?
22nd, yeah, with a rain date of the 29th.
And rain date 29th, okay. Anyone else have anything further to say?
Nope, okay, so I'd like to make a motion to accept the, what is it
To
called?
approve.
Approve,
Yeah.
to approve the
Lions application.
Lions
to hold a-
application.
To hold a boot
to hold a
drive.
boot drive on June 22nd with a rain date of the 29th.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion, questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes? Opposed, abstained?
Abstain.
Okay, motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Just know you can stay for the zoning
Yes,
discussion.
you
I
all
was
are
hoping
welcome
you'd
to.
ask.
It's gonna be riveting.
Yeah.
I'd love to stay, but at my age, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So you're supposed to be like, oh no, my car's running. I
Yeah,
gotta
I think I hear my mom calling me.
You should have wore your PJs, you wouldn't have to change when you get home.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank
Bye,
you.
thank
See
you.
ya.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry about it.
No one,
We don't know when his birthday is, we know when yours is, in
Yeah.
2 days. But
Happy birthday.
okay, we'll call the, town meeting, public hearing, number 3, zoning bylaw amendment articles, public hearing open. Chris, you would like to join us on this?
Sure. He's like, no, not really. He's
Wasn't
like, I don't
that
feel like it.
apparent?
Mr. Chair, we also have Town Planner Alec Wade virtually in attendance.
Oh.
For the good of the record, to make sure everyone knows, he wanted to come. I told him that virtual was going to be good enough for this situation.
Yeah, why? Come on.
Good to
go
see
up.
you.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So Chris, we'll turn it over to you, excuse me.
So we have 4 items that are currently up on the warrant. If I was on the right tab, I would go directly into them right now, but I'm not on my computer. So the first one we'll go into is, actually, Alec, do you have a preferred order you want to go into?
Leave it to your discretion, Mr. Chairperson.
Why don't you start with the ADU, 'cause it's
Yeah,
alphabetical.
let's hop into the ADU bylaw. So as a matter of background, the town had put together and passed one of the first ADU bylaws in the state. It was actually one of the most progressive and most enabling ADU bylaws. However, the state of Massachusetts, in its infinite wisdom, which will be a theme that we come back to many times in this conversation tonight, put together a piece of legislation that essentially made our bylaw unenforceable and is resulting in us essentially having to gut it and go with a much stripped down bylaw. And that's what we're going to be presenting to the town on this warrant. So credit to Alec, who has been doing a lot of work on this, because there are a lot of compliance issues in it. And in fact, everything that we have and that we're proposing on the warrant has some form of state compliance aspects, other than the site plan revisions. That is us working towards some process improvement. But
Chris, I got a question.
Yep.
Is this are you speaking to a particular one of these articles right now?
24.
Yeah,
24?
accessory dwelling unit.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So our bylaw as it was essentially struck down by the state through the legislation. So we need something to replace it so that it's clearer for our constituents what's allowed and what's not allowed. We don't really have any discretion on what we're putting forward. Is pretty much the reality of the situation on this. So we've proposed essentially what we had before, with a lot of the language taken out of it, and it essentially just allows ADUs, as it is currently written, allows ADUs up to 1,000 square feet by right in all zones, which is what we attempted to do before, but we have to repackage it in this way to comply with the state. So, Alec, is there anything you would add to that?
I just want to highlight, the intent and the purpose of the state action in this regard. And I want to emphasize again, as Chris said, this was state action. The state has chosen to protect ADUs as a use type. So no longer can towns over-regulate, as they define it, accessory dwelling units. That means you can't regulate who can live in them. You can only reasonably regulate what districts. In the case of Hubbardston, they'll be allowed in every district, but that's because every district allows single-family homes. If your zoning changes over time and you no longer allow single-family homes in, say, a commercial 2 district or a secondary business district, then the ADUs would not be allowed in that district. But as Chris said, they are allowed by right in every district under the proposal. And what we've done is we've adopted many of the state definitions and the regulations outright to ensure compliance with state law.
Yeah, as a practical matter, what we propose makes no real difference from the previous version for most constituents. We've tried to keep it broad. The original purpose of our first bylaw was to be as enabling as possible. And we've tried to do the same that we can, but we essentially have language that's being handed to us by the state, so. With that, are there any questions about that one?
Oh, anyone in attendance?
Yeah, I got a question here. It says, you list 3 bullet points here, in Article 24, saying how it differs in these following ways. Bullet point 2, I don't get it. It says limits property owners to no more than 1 ADU on a property optional. What does optional mean?
Chris, would you like me to answer that question?
Yes, please.
So within the state regulation, they allow towns to give the right for a second, third, or subsequent accessory dwelling units on a single property. However, they also require that if a town chooses to do so, you must do it by special permit. And so at this iteration, we're only allowing the single accessory dwelling unit. We're not allowing the additional ones. The board has not had a robust discussion as to what those special permit criteria would be. And so it didn't feel appropriate at this time to propose secondary ADUs without those criteria in hand. I wouldn't want to speak for Chris or the board, but I think it's reasonable that a member of the public could approach the board at a future meeting should they have an interest in more accessory dwelling units on a single property. But as it stands right now, the bylaw is compliant without opting into additional units.
Yep. It's also important to note that we actually have special permit requirements for what I would call not alternative housing. Call it alternative accommodations. So like if somebody wanted to build something where they had a bunch of cabins or something along those lines, that falls under our special permit requirements for doing campgrounds or alternative accommodations. Accepted from that would be bed and breakfast, which is allowed by right in all districts.
And the decision for something like that would be at the local level?
Yes, if somebody was to
We
apply
would have
for-
that,
Yep.
okay?
So I have a question.
Yes,
for-
go ahead.
Chris, thank you. So as we know, we have a lot of homeowners that work from their home, right? And are these ADU units, are people allowed to have their home business in them?
So the ADU bylaw, as it's put up by the state, is entirely focused upon habitation. So it is essentially a way to get around restrictions on multifamily zoning.
Mhm.
Because if we were to look at what single-family zoning is in Hubbardston, and then look at what the requirements are for multifamily zoning, it would change what the frontage requirements are, what the lot size requirements are, all of these things that go along with that. The purpose of the ADU bylaw is to make it so that if somebody wants to put a smaller living unit on their house for a family member, for a friend, really for pretty much anybody.
Did we lose him?
Probably.
Looks like something went wrong.
Or buffering.
He's
There we
back.
go.
Yep.
And he's back.
Specifically for housing purposes. Now, there is some regulations in our zoning that do talk about home-based businesses.
Which is everybody's right as a homeowner in town, right?
Yeah, well, there are some restrictions within Article 4, which have been talked about by the board to look at some point in the near future. But it has not yet come to the top of the project list. So the short answer is, no, this doesn't directly impact home businesses. It just impacts the ability to build another living
Okay.
unit on the property
So-
without being subject to.
So in that other living unit, they can run a business out of it. That's what I'm getting at. If I put an ADU unit on my property, and say I have a relative move in, that they have their own little home business, can they run it out of there? That's what I'm asking.
If it complied with the other provisions of Article 4. I can't quote those off the top
Okay,
of my head.
yeah, I don't expect you to, but it's not written anywhere where they're allowed to right now in the accessory dwelling unit law. And we'd have to go back to your primary property on that. I mean, I don't know. See, I'm a little confused as how would somebody go about getting permission to have a home-based business. So let's say they build, take my property, for instance, a 1,500 square foot ADU unit, and they use 500 or whatever, what is it, 50% of the house size for a home business, or 400 square feet? I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around there. I think 400 square feet rings a bell for a personal business.
Can't remember.
The Article 4 restrictions on home-based businesses, and this is not speaking officially on behalf of the board, but have been discussed by the board, and generally the consensus of the board is that it is something that we should address at some point
Okay.
in the near future, because they are more restrictive than at least the sentiment of the current board.
Mhm.
But we can only do so many projects at once. So
Yeah, I understand that. So I was getting at, so I mean, I don't know, I mean, I guess I'm looking too far ahead. at
The
this
answer
point.
is, if it hits the criteria, then it's okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I was talking, let's say you attach it to your primary residence as an ADU unit, and you're already running a business out of there, what's the difference? Right? It's just, it's, I'm looking down the road, but it will
You come down
come.
and you have a conversation.
It will
with
come
the-
back
You know,
sometime.
you just come down, have a conversation and see where you're at.
You know me, I like questions.
I know you do, but sometimes we can't answer them because we haven't
I
fixed
don't,
it.
I'm just curious if, you know, is it that broad and with the state jumped on, you know, we already had the ADU, and now the state's got their finger in it now, because they want all these requirements that they want in there. But
Well, they want housing. That's what the state wants.
I understand that.
Okay.
Okay, I'll just shut up.
Go ahead, Chris.
Chris, in general, do these ADUs have to be attached to the existing building, or can they be freestanding?
They can be freestanding.
So in theory, you could put a tiny house in your backyard. Possibly.
Subject to
Possible.
Board of Health requirements,
Yeah, and
so on and so forth, yeah.
Septic, all that, yeah.
Yeah, the big takeaway from this is that if you qualify for the ADU bylaw, then it is no longer a multifamily home. So there's still all kinds of restrictions, like the septic has to be big enough.
Yeah.
It has to be something that is buildable with a regular building permit. Which brings up all kinds of requirements, so if it violates setbacks and does all of that stuff, it's not gonna be necessarily buildable by right. But the big thing is if the septic system's not big enough, you can't do it. So, and that is ultimately what the biggest limitation for most people on this would be. So it's really just a pathway around the multifamily housing if it's a unit that is smaller than the original house itself.
Thank you.
Right, so I guess we're gonna. Yep.
Or go to Gus next.
Well, I was gonna say,
Really
we could
going
just,
Are you just
Alphabetical
dictating it?
Continue working
I
up
like
from
the
the bottom.
alphabetical, like, that's,
Yeah.
Number, please?
I don't know.
Well, it starts at 9, I mean, Article 9 was.
Scroll back up to the gear.
Goes, Article 9 is site plan approval.
Grid scale.
13 is
23.
floodplain.
Yeah.
23 is best.
Grid
Grid
scale,
scale.
So let's-
battery, and.
23 is
resources.
what?
Best.
That's what you're saying.
Grid
Yeah, its
scale.
acronym is BESS, that's
Yeah.
what they reference.
23,
Yeah.
okay.
BESS.
so let's go into the, what page are you guys looking at in the packet on?
2 of 3. It says page 2 of 3.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, but what page in the PDF?
It's,
Oh,
it's,
sorry.
it's,
We're in
it's
the full
actually,
packet.
yeah, it starts at 2 of 3, right above it, 2 of 3.
You're in a whole different thing than we are.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
just
just had her send me the.
Chris,
version,
Oh, okay.
so it doesn't match
Just
up.
use mine, just
I didn't send
scroll
it
down.
back.
Yeah, use my mouse,
Thanks.
use my pad, it's got a moose on it, so be careful.
It's
It's Alex
So if you
memo.
just scroll.
Okay.
Yeah.
Going the other way, Article 23, the grid scale battery energy storage
It's not
systems.
this.
Might be, I don't know.
So this one has come up once again because of the infinite wisdom of the state. A few years ago, we had passed a battery energy storage bylaw,
This one.
and it was struck down by the state. And the reason they had struck it down is because in between the time we voted on it, and in between the time the Attorney General's office reviewed it, there was a case that decided that towns could only place reasonable restrictions on solar facilities, and the Attorney General's office interpreted solar facilities to mean battery energy storage systems. And because of that, they struck ours and they struck down everybody's. Like, there were 10 of these things that went through and they all got kicked out. So, the following year, we had presented another version, and that version actually apparently had some versioning issues in the final of what went to the warrant. There was a lot going on with turnover in the town at the moment, neither here nor there. And it got struck down on the floor and passed over. So this year, we have addressed all of the issues that were in the previous version as it was discussed at the town meeting. So we've come up with a really thoughtful version of the battery, grid scale battery energy storage system bylaw. And this is specifically designed and targeted for grid scale systems. So lots of folks are getting systems in their house like Tesla Powerwalls. Cars themselves, when they're connected to the house, could actually serve as a battery energy storage system. So you could have a Tesla Powerwall, and you could have a Tesla plugged into it. You could actually have a lot of electric storage available in your house. We are not regulating those under the bylaw. What we are regulating are the things that are larger. They're the storage size commercial units. And we would like to put some reasonable restrictions around those that are ultimately going to be incorporated in the site plan review process. So where this ultimately becomes challenging is that this is a bit of a moving target with the state, and there's actually legislation that's in process with the state now that potentially makes this version not work. So we're trying, and this has been a lot of work from Alec. There's actually been members of the public that have been volunteering with Alec to go through and review this. There's been a significant amount of work from the board, but we've ended up with a bit of a moving target from a state standpoint. So it's certainly been a challenge, but the thing that we're trying to address is, as the Attorney General blue penciled our bylaw, battery energy storage systems are allowed by right with just a building permit in every district in Hubbardston. Residential, commercial, town center, every district by right. So we really want to have some reasonable restrictions around that, and to some degree, I don't know that the Attorney General's office did that on purpose, but they did it. So we're trying to at least get some common sense put around this, because there are some places in the town that these things probably shouldn't be. There should be setback requirements. There should be all of these things. And as there currently are, there aren't. It's the Wild West. Somebody doesn't even have to come in front of the planning board to put one in town. Like the controversy that's going on in Oakham,
what?
it wouldn't
Not
be
sure.
going on here because they're allowed by right in all districts. They could have just pulled their building permit and been done with it. And we would like to change that, and really don't appreciate the position the state's put us in.
I don't understand why the state would allow something as toxic to possibly pollute their own damn drinking
Their own
water.
water,
Like, it
correct.
doesn't make sense, because once it goes up in flames, you can't put it out, and everything is ruined around it.
Well, there's
Like,
there's
this
a,
doesn't make any sense.
there's a bunch of different battery technologies.
True, things are changing too, and I understand that, but as of right now,
And I
if things
can't-
go sideways, they go sideways.
I can't speak to what he would say exactly, but I know the fire chief does support the reasonable management of larger scale battery energy storage systems. So he went to a training maybe 2 months ago at this point, and did have some reservations about them across the board, but.
Yeah, cause he's like,
I
you
would-
can't put them out,
Yeah, I
cause you
would say-
can't.
I'd suggest talking to him if you want his exact feelings on it, but.
In 5 years, they'll change their mind and they'll want a containment system around it. You know what I mean? That way, any runoff goes in and
Yeah,
goes into a holding,
tank of some sort or whatever, I
Yeah,
don't know, something.
just like a gas station, something like, you know.
Yeah,
Do we anticipate more amendments for this bylaw before it goes to town meeting, so that there's amendments on the floor relative to this to try to ensure its best chance of passing?
Yeah, we are anticipating that there will likely be floor amendments on this because of the developing legislative situation.
Okay.
And that we probably are gonna have to respond to that proactively in order to
Avoid bootlegging
avoid
the
it getting
entire-
bounced out by the state again.
Mm.
Cause there's also, there are real expenses that go along with us having to go through this all the time.
Yeah, it's-
There's Alex time, there's the
Yep.
time for the town meeting, like,
Time is money.
there's actual dollar and cents every time the state forces us back through this.
So you expect to be clearer about certain things by town meeting on this issue?
Yes, as clear as we can be. I don't think.
I didn't mean it that you weren't, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, the way you describe, state, who knows what's gonna happen, so I'm just thinking from the town's point of view, if people wanna make the questions, if we're gonna be able to satisfy them at all.
Yeah, well, we will, if we don't have an answer where the state's going on this, we will have our best estimation on where the state is going with this. The changes that we would be looking at, we don't anticipate being particularly severe. And we certainly don't anticipate it changing what's been proposed in any really material way. From our perspective, and going back to our original battery energy storage bylaw, it was done to be enabling. It wasn't done to really restrict them. At the time we had put it forward, battery energy storage systems weren't allowed in any district, even by a special permit, because they weren't mentioned.
Weren't allowed by the state, talking about?
Weren't allowed by us.
Oh, by us,
So,
okay.
we have a clause in our uses where if something is not expressly allowed, it is expressly prohibited. So if it's not mentioned in the list of uses, it's not something we can consider. And the planning board has no authority to waive that. Only the zoning board of appeals can waive that, and they can only waive it in very narrow situations.
Mhm.
So, as it wasn't allowed anywhere, and it was really a comedy of errors from the state attorney general's office that was also a product of the fact that we were putting forward several amendments that year, where the article for the battery energy storage system got rejected, but our changes to Article 4 to update it got accepted, but when they got accepted, she struck out subject to the limitations of Article 23 and just wrote allowed in all districts battery energy storage systems without the subject to the restrictions of Article 23. So that's a situation.
I don't understand how that can just, like, that's okay, like, they can just write our own bylaws
They
that
don't
we voted
think
on.
out of their area.
But I'm
That's-
just saying, like,
That's-
how can one person just rewrite the bylaw that was voted upon by the town? Like,
Yeah,
screw
yeah.
you, basically, how can you say screw you? Like,
Well,
that's
because
the
they're
way,
the attorney general.
but I'm just saying,
They're
like,
the top dog.
Yeah, our
Anyway.
recourse would be to sue them, and that costs.
yeah, oh, that's,
And
that's,
without it being a live issue, it's
Yeah.
tough.
Is there anyone in the public with any questions, comments, or concerns?
no, she's just
I'm
here
mostly
for the
just
ride.
listening.
She's just here for the ride.
Nothing on Facebook either.
All right, so any other questions for me on that one? All right, so then that moves us into the floodplain district. And this is one that's essentially handed down to us.
You good on this?
Yeah.
Is that 13?
What do you need?
No,
Thank you.
13, sorry.
Is that
Yeah, that's
13?
Article 13.
Okay.
So this is essentially handed down to us with the position of you can pass this subject to the sample language that we have from DCR in the state. or everybody who has flood insurance can pay a 25% premium.
Yeah, let's not make people pay more.
So, because of that, and credit to mostly Leanne on this one, she went through what we had and what the current requirements for the state were, and in a very expeditious way, made them match, in a way where we have something that we can propose and we can stop our neighbors who have flood insurance from paying 25% more. The board did review it, the board did recommend its passing. There are things in there that we would like to work on and that we would like to evolve over time. But we're faced with the mandate that, well, we have to pass this and we have to pass something. And if we don't, flood insurance is gonna go up for everybody who's required to have it. So we don't have a ton of flexibility. We did go through and we did blue pencil several things out. Well, I guess it's not blue penciling because we're ultimately originating it. We did remove several things that were in it where it was making us more restrictive than the state, where we backed it off to what the minimum from the state was. Alec, do you have anything that you'd like to add to that one? 'Cause this is a long one.
No, you did a great job covering it.
I think otherwise it's mostly definition updates and map references. Is the, cause this is something that they've contacted every municipality in the state for the update, harassing
Yep.
every municipality in the state, 2-3 emails a week.
Many emails, and I'd like to thank Leanne, because like on her second day, I didn't want to be the floodplain administrator, so I just,
So this is,
hey!
this is just
Guess
a
what?
bylaw adjustment or whatever they're doing, they're not touching the actual area of the floodplains. They haven't changed the mapping, have they?
They do have new maps
we have
that
new
are
brand new
gonna be
maps.
printed July of 25, that
July-
you have to reference that date in the
July 5th,
bylaw.
and they are printed, they are in Leanne's office at this time.
So
They
do-
are this big.
Do we
like
know if
blocks.
they expanded the floodplain area in town, or we
It didn't
don't?
change much of anything.
So it did change something?
You worried about your yard?
No, I'm surrounded by ponds.
I know,
you
that's
what I mean,
fine.
so.
I don't think you'd be.
No, I'm not in a floodplain,
Yeah.
but just curious.
You can go visit Leanne.
No, I've already looked online because it came
Well, yeah, but they're not
insurance
posted
purposes.
till the
But-
25th.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Alec, do you know the answer to that? If this changed anything about floodplain kind of lines?
Did they expand it or decrease it, or probably expanded it?
In nearly every case, it's an expansion. It's rather rare that the floodplain decreases in
Right,
size.
yeah.
So I would expect, if anything, there's an expansion. What I will also note, though, is that FEMA allows at any time for a person who would like to protest the boundary of the floodplain because it affects them, they have the opportunity to submit new technical data, and FEMA will consider that at any time. This bylaw also provides a clearer definition and instruction on what the appeal process looks like if you do feel that you need to dispute the boundary lines. And as I said, that can be done at any time.
Okay, thank you.
And the sections where we did loosening up some of the restrictions on it were areas where really that was redundant to enforcement powers the town already had, or enforcement powers that the state had. Because there's already plenty of places where building within proximity to water are pretty heavily regulated by the state and by the town. And ultimately what this bylaw did was it also put some redundant enforcement powers into the floodplain administrator, which is really just not necessary in our case. So we pared some of that back to try to have it be closer to what the minimum requirements were.
We got one more, right?
Site
Yep, so
plan
yep.
approval.
One more, which is the revisions to Article 9, which is the site plan approval. So this is one of the first steps towards modernizing how we look at special permits and site plan approval as a town. As it stands now, we only have site plan review as part of a special permit application, which actually makes us an outlier as a community. We don't really have separate site plan reviews. So what this regulation is looking to do is to modernize, or excuse me, what this bylaw is looking to do is to modernize the site plan review process. So it takes a lot out of the bylaw and it moves them towards the regulations where it is possible to be a little more flexible and to change some of the nuances. It still keeps the framework of the site plan review itself, but it takes some of the specific requirements out of the bylaw. When the rules, or rather when the regulations get enacted, those regulations get put in place by the planning board. So just as we now have administrative rule number 1 is the planning board, which is our administrative rule for conducting public hearings where we say who's going to say what, who's going to speak when. Gives the public a clear understanding of how the meetings are going to be conducted. This is going to lead to essentially the creation of administrative rule number 2, which is going to be the fine points for the site plan review process. And this is going to allow us over time to move to a more modernized process where people can understand a little bit more about what they're getting into ahead of time. Because we'll be able to take care of some of that stuff and flesh it out in the rules and regulations, as opposed to anytime it has to be tweaked, it has to go to a full town meeting. And this is also something that's pretty consistent in our peer communities, and has been recommended to us in the past. I believe it was in the master plan, although it could be confusing documents late in the day for me.
This will also allow the town to be more economic development friendly for things that will make sense. By actually having a site plan review team and a site plan review bylaw, we can sit down with people that may be interested and review their documents ahead of a public hearing or ahead of things that are going to be just a absolute brawl,
Yeah.
and point out some things that may not go over well down the road, but we can talk about
Or
at
stuff
site
that's
plan.
missing, yeah, things like that.
It also allows for us to create a kind of intermediate step between by right and special permit, because there are some things that fall into that area, because special permits are long, complex processes that usually involve hiring professionals. And there's some things that should be reviewed but don't necessarily rise to the level where they need a full special permit. And one of the places where this came up a lot was in the discussion in the last attempt at an agricultural accessory bylaw, because one of the reasons that ultimately failed in final review of the planning board is because we didn't have this process in place. So if we were to say, well, subject to site plan review, it's like, well, but we don't really have a separate site plan review process. So what would that even look like? Like, well, it would look the same it does for a special permit. So this will help us fix that, to be able to look at some of those issues down the road and move forward to doing things in a more modern way. Anything else you'd add to that, Alec?
Yeah, just to really plug too, one of the benefits to this approach, the rules and regulation style, is it takes a lot of the administrative stuff out of your zoning bylaw. A zoning bylaw is meant to be a governing rule, but it's not meant to be an administrative document. I'm sure you've all been to a town meeting before where you're busy striking a 2-sentence piece of legislation that to the planning board is incredibly important, but to everybody else it might seem like a waste of 5 or 10 minutes. What this does is it extracts those seemingly small and minute pieces out, and it allows the planning board to protect the town's liability through its rules and regulations document, which it can update on an annual process, still by public hearing, so the opportunity is always given for public input and comment, but without having to clog up your time on town meeting floor.
Yeah, and just to clarify, this doesn't change the uses. This doesn't make it so that anything new is enabled anywhere in the town. This is an adjustment to the administrative process. And it doesn't make it so the planning board could just change a site plan review element for an application that's coming in. While the planning board can change it, it has to go through the process, and there's rules against doing that kind of, help me out with the term of art, Alec. Ex post facto, either way, there's
Latin phrase for it.
there's legal principles over just rewriting a law just for one application. So it's one of those really boring things, but it's one of those things that's going to enable a bunch of other work that we're doing, and is going to enable us to really respond to the future needs of the town.
Excellent.
Anything further on this?
No, that's about what we have. Folks are always welcome to reach out to Leanne. She can get messages to the planning board. They're welcome to contact me directly. I can't always get to those messages as fast as Leanne should, so I strongly recommend contacting Leanne. And we're happy to talk to anybody. And if somebody has questions, they're welcome to call. I'll book some time to talk to constituents that have questions. It's much rather
Just-
talk about it than on the floor.
Watch the last couple select,
Town meetings.
the last couple, planning
board.
board meetings that are on the YouTube, and you will learn more than you've ever wanted to know about these topics.
Mr. Chair, Alec does have his hand raised.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
I was just going to build off of what Chris was noting about reaching out to Leanne. I also host regular office hours, typically remote on Fridays, so that people can hop on a quick call for me. I'm always happy to sit down with constituents and help them understand the bylaws that are going before the town.
I would also like to, just on behalf of my own office, thank Alec for the work he's done since joining our team. It's been limited in hours, but certainly not in output. This was a really heavy lift that even a year ago would have monopolized so much time of so many people, and with his expertise was able to push it through relatively easily. We do have some work left to do after a legal review ahead of final presentation, but I don't see that being too much of an issue either. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, if I can add to that briefly, Mr. Chair. One of the themes, really with all of this, is that, and this is really an appreciation of Alec, is that the state really has created an environment that is unfriendly to citizen planners. We had talked about it originally when the board was looking at funding Alec's position, and with the changing regulations and the speed of which they're changing on battery energy storage systems, even with the help, it's still really hard. So the board thanks Alec and Leanne for all of the work that they've done on this, and it really just has gotten to a point of where you need the help from the professionals these days. It's really just hard to do it yourself.
We appreciate the amount of work, obviously, that has been put into this from all of you, so thank you on that. And will you be available at the town meeting itself, or to speak on behalf of this, when the questions start coming up, or?
I hope so.
Yeah, what was the date of it again?
Pardon?
Town meeting
The
is
day of the
the
town meeting.
June 2nd.
June
Yeah.
2nd.
17th?
No.
No, the election
No,
is
that's
June
the
2nd,
2
June 2nd,
weeks
yeah.
from today. 2 weeks from right now.
Yeah, June 2nd.
There will be childcare.
I'm just anticipating there'll be some questions on that.
Yeah, there'll be floor discussion.
Yeah.
That's good, because that's gonna be the first question I
So-
get.
We've already tried this
What'd you say?
without you.
I know,
So-
I had a board meeting moved, I had to go.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? You're all set, Chris, we thank you, okay, then we will officially close without objection, we will close the public hearing on the zoning bylaw amendments. Okay, we've already done open session, we have a consent agenda, let me go over it with you. And as always,
Thank you, Chris. You
Thanks,
guys
Chris.
are busy.
Thank you.
as always, if anyone has any objections or want to hold, please let me know before we vote. So, administrative matters, we have the Green Community Technical Assistance to approve participation in Regional Energy Program and authorize TA to sign the MOU. That's what would be, what we would be doing on this. The notes, no cost, support for energy planning and grant readiness. The MOU is due on May 30th. MOC field use request, approve the MOC's field use request and authorize TA to sign the use agreement. This is used to support youth programming at the Curtis Rec Field, no cost to the town. MDAR farmland grant support letter, again to approve submission of farmland support letter and authorize the TA to sign. Note please, regional effort to improve the farmland access and equity, no match required. FY26 Community One-Stop submission, approve project list and authorize the TA to submit grant materials. Covers 11 strategic projects across planning, facilities, and modernization. We've already taken care of the bottom one. On item B, personal committee actions, Whitney Freiberg resignation from the Economic Development Committee effective 5/14/2025. Are there any questions or holds in any of these? From anyone? Yes, Peter.
I just have a question on the facility request application. What happened? I mean, you understand it's public land and we have insurance, right, a town?
They
insurance?
also are insured. They carry the $1 million liability insurance that is required to use the field in this capacity.
Okay, thank you. Because I didn't see it on here anywhere about insurance.
It was a very bad picture.
Yeah, it's on there.
It is?
Yep, the COI. It's, hold on, I just passed it.
It's the one, it
It's
blows,
like,
it blows
yeah,
up.
it's like weird.
It's down the bottom. It says conditional usage insurance certificate attached.
Oh, it's not on this one.
No.
It's in the
It's in the
individuals.
individual package
Yeah.
because it
Okay.
kept blowing up the
whole thing.
The PDF.
That's right.
Okay. Anything else from anyone on this?
Thank you.
Seeing none, could I get a unanimous consent motion for the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made in second. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed.
All set out, thank you.
Okay. Moving to new business. We have special legislation request to validate and reschedule the 2025 election. This is just further what we did in the last meeting. Basically, we're gonna end up, we will be signing what we already agreed to. So approve and ratify the request for special legislation validating the rescheduled annual town election and authorize the town administrator to transmit the letter. Due to a technical filing error, the election was rescheduled to June 17, 2025. This vote validates the new date and preserves the questions and candidates already in place. Is there anything further to add on this?
The letter was drafted by legal counsel.
Okay, because legal counsel has already had their say on this. So if there's no discussion, could we get a motion to approve as stated?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion made and second to approve and ratify the request for special legislation validating the rescheduled annual town election and authorize the town administrator to transmit the letter. Any more discussion? Seeing none?
We already have the signatures of the legislative delegation.
Oh, they.
Oh, Berthium and.
Peter and
Yeah.
Peter and Dick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Durant.
So, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next, we have the 2025 annual town election warrant approval. Again, our action is simply to approve and sign the annual town election warrant for June 17th, 2025. The warrant includes candidate positions and 3 debt exclusion ballot questions for a fire truck, plow truck, and brush mower. Is there any need for any more discussion on this?
When do we
Anyone?
get to see
Questions?
the full list of who's actually, I know there's no,
After this.
after this,
So,
okay,
like, once the warrant is posted, they can come out and say.
do the things,
Yeah.
okay.
But no one is running
Against each
Against
other, I'm just
anybody.
curious how many holes there are, that's all.
Eh.
many.
Yeah, I know, that's what I'm worried about.
Well, then the next question is, what's the analysis on the number of
Yeah.
years and
Yeah.
are we back to
This
Mandy?
final, this allows Mel to release
Okay.
the final
Okay.
list.
There's no further discussion on this. Could I have a motion to approve and sign the 2025 annual town election warrant as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next, we have board recommendations on annual town meeting articles. Again, our action would be to review and vote recommendations on the June 2nd, 2025 annual town meeting warrant articles. It includes all financial and policy articles for FY '26. Recommendations will appear in the meeting presentation and warrant handout. Anything further on this from anyone? Okay, then could we have the motion to small print here.
I know, that's why I'm not reading it.
To move that the select board vote recommendations on each article for the June 2025 annual town meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Did you want motions
We
on
can, we
each
can
article?
do, you can do it as a whole, or if,
Well, are we against, is anyone
If
against
anyone-
We've
any?
already gone through every article.
yes,
Yeah.
if anyone would like to hold any article specifically,
Unless anyone-
let the chair know.
Unless anyone, because we've already gone actually through every article, so I
Yeah.
don't see the need for that,
Right.
but that's entirely
Yeah,
up to you
So,
guys.
no, just to be clear, so the recommendation that we're voting is to recommend approval for all articles
Yes,
as written.
yes,
On each-
unless somebody has a
Yeah.
problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Is that clear? Okay. So can we have that motion?
I did, so
Oh,
moved.
thank you.
And
And
Peter
Peter
seconded.
Peter
You
seconded,
jumped
okay.
ahead of me.
Any other discussion on
Well, you,
this?
there's a little lag there.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed, motion passed. Takes us to old business. Do we have any? We don't have any?
Individually.
Okay. TA report. Nate, if you would, please.
It's been a real busy couple weeks. I'm happy to have Patricia back. She was gone for 2 to 3 weeks, so that wasn't that fun. Same time that I was quasi playing accountant as well, so you learn what other people are doing when you're doing it all. So that's it's been really good to have her back and have Sam be started. She has gone through and I asked her point blank, how are we? 1 to 10, 1 being really, really good, 10 being really, really bad. She said we were in a 3, so I'm really happy with that. So I am already enjoying working with her. We should be getting the budget report out this week now that everything is caught up. The reporting for the SLRF, ARPA, and COVID money was a little bit late because that's something that needs accountant signature on, so we got that in. The state and federal government really likes reminding us to do that, about as much as the floodplain bylaw, so we got that in.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Did we have to pay them back money, or, so we did pay it back?
Out of the, long story short, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Like,
I remember hearing about it and then I never heard another thing.
we're rolling out all of the Hub Connect stuff, the building, electrical, and plumbing e-permits are all out. We're going to be running a small version of the Hub Fix program, which is a C-Click Fix program Leanne and I are building. We're going to run it out with the staff and Hunter, and then the staff, Hunter, and the select board, then rope Travis into it, then do the whole town. So I'm hoping that by August to be doing a rollout of this with QR codes at the park and all different things for people to be able to report quickly, and we will get emails about it and get notified, and we will be able to track it. I have promised the DPW director that we would not make the tracking sheet a public facing one, because in some communities, they have the See-Click-Fix program as a live document, and it creates some issues for
Problems.
the Department of Public Works.
Yeah, they get crapped
So-
on.
But I look forward to releasing that with all of you, and again, thank Leanne for learning how to code with me. Like, so.
I will just be super happy when I don't get Facebook messaged about the porta potty at the rec field.
You will
It'll be
still get
awesome.
Facebook messaged about the
Come
porta potty
on.
at the rec field. Lonnie Tech is going to be at the town hall building this week, fixing the lip on the back of the breezeways to ensure ADA compliance from the back end where the handicapped parking is going to be. I met with the gentleman from MassCore to look at signage opportunities for the roadside, town parking, 10-minute quick in and out town hall parking, and handicapped / fire department parking in the back.
Put a
Di-
drive through it.
different spots.
Great.
If
Sorry.
there was a building uniquely set to have a
Have a
drive-through,
drive-through,
it
it'd
would
be
be
that
that one.
Yeah, right in the back wall.
I want a bank teller,
Lord of those vacuums.
vacuum thing, so I don't have to keep going up and down the stairs all day to Mary. It'd
Oh,
be
yeah,
great.
those
to
chutes,
the
yeah.
tax office.
Yeah.
Yep.
Niche engineering and the planning board chair and the planner and Leanne and myself and representatives of the open space committee met and held our kickoff meeting for the sand pit overlay project. That seems to be going well. I'll have an update soon. That is going to hit its stride during the dog days of summer. So I feel badly that we're going to be reaching out to people in the middle of July saying, hey, do you want to talk to us about overlays? But
Not really.
that's how the
On vacation.
cookie crumbles. Last week, towards the end of the week, we held a meeting with MRPC and a advisory committee of business owners and members of the business community, as well as Peter and Katie, on the Route 68 zoning project that is also going to be taking off around that same time.
Riveting.
It was quite riveting. There are always heating and plumbing issues, so Peterson Oil came out today, and because the vet's AC was not working, being a town administrator / landlord is a very interesting role. Tricia is also part landlord. It's been a lot better now that the construction is done.
Yes.
Other than that, things are going really, really well. It's good to have everyone back. Everyone's doing a good job. Mary and Sarah are going to a training next week. Travis is getting his MCPPO as part of his purchasing certificate that Heather and I have
I'm like,
as part of the One Free Designee program.
Which they just extended.
They just extend it.
They did.
With, I don't think he loves it, but he'll get it done.
Can you find me someone who does?
Yeah. In partnership with Travis and Patricia and Eric and Boris, National Grid donated 3, what kind of trees?
3 trees, they are in the cherry tree family, so
So
they'll,
you picked them.
I picked them. They
Where are they
will
going?
bloom. There you go. We took down the arborvitae in front of 48 because it was large, and unfortunately, arborvitae can lead to some foundational issues. So I wanted something with nice shallow roots that looks beautiful in the spring, summer, and fall. So Eric sent me a list of trees. I did my research, picked trees that are low maintenance, that are low growing, so they're not going to get super tall, and we have to worry about their roots going into the foundation, all that. So they're in the cherry tree family. They'll bloom beautifully in the spring, and then in the fall they turn bright, bright orange. So they'll be pretty for you know,
Oh, wait.
3 seasons out of the year.
You did there's 2.
3, so there's 2 right in front where the
Yeah.
old arborvitae was, and then there's one where Travis clear cut all the land out in front on
Yeah.
68. We planted the 3rd
Okay.
one there.
I'll have to look for that one.
She's kind of just little, so
Little- yeah.
she's
yeah.
little, so she's got time.
I'm sure
Nice.
you had some very upset birds taking down those arborvitaes.
Taking down those arborvitaes, but Taylor and I talked today, and we found a solution that might make the birds a little bit happier.
It'll really enhance the whole area
Aesthetic,
there once
yeah.
it's
Mr.
Especially
Chair, would
with
you
Christmas
take
lights on.
a matter not anticipated?
Uh-oh.
Oh,
We
yeah,
still have,
certainly.
Yeah,
don't
we
we have
haven't even
policies
got
to
there yet.
review first?
Oh,
Yeah, we have the
Chris,
whole,
you could bring it up during matters not anticipated, we'll just get it done tonight. None of them are gonna wanna be the MRPC alternate, so you can come on up during that.
So,
And that's about it. Does anyone have any questions on anything?
so random.
Yes, Peter.
Jesus.
Sorry, he emailed me.
Why wouldn't I? I just have a question, seeing how we're talking about 48. Remember the other day, we were out there looking at the cable stretching across the roof?
It's still
They were fixed.
They were fixed.
Oh,
they were.
On Saturday
On
morning.
Saturday
Really?
morning, I
Yeah.
worked with
Thank you
Vasilios
very much.
Okay,
today,
it's
but
gone now?
Yep, Vasilios.
Was it a
came down
live
on-
cable for?
Yeah.
it was for internet. It wasn't like.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, Vasilios came down, and it was noted between all parties involved that when the big project goes forward, all the utility companies will come out and will straighten out that
Mass,
Yep.
mess.
snarls, mass of.
Quagmire.
okay,
Because it was people coming in at different
Yeah,
times
oh
and
yeah.
adding different things, and
So what happens when you have a building that's.
Central Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
get rid of everything.
Exactly.
Charge the tenants.
the
for Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi project is kicking off tomorrow. The fiber project, I'm gonna have to let them into a lot of the buildings that we have.
That's going fiber?
Yep.
We're going fiber?
Fancy.
That means more money.
No, it does not. Remember, you voted on it. It was an $11
I
increase.
can't remember yesterday.
are we done with the TA report?
Yep.
All right, then, under policies to review, we have the internship program policy. Our action would be to review and adopt the proposed internship program policy for the municipal departments. It establishes clear guidelines for hosting interns, including onboarding, supervision, project scope and duration, supports talent development and workforce exposure. Is there any
I'm assuming this
questions
is
on this?
because of the Board of Health.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to pass this to Patricia, who wrote this policy after she took a class on internships at the MMA conference.
So we have it.
Trish, it's all yours,
Yeah.
Trish, go ahead.
So I took a class that, like Nate said, at the MMA about internships in municipalities. Actually, I spoke to Heather on my way out of the meeting because I saw her first about it and wanting to start an internship program here in Hubbardston. As we've seen with turnover and stuff like that, the pool to draw from for candidates is getting smaller and smaller from municipalities. We're not seeing people wanting to go into municipality work. I am a kid that had an internship, and a
That's
funny
fine.
way, and Nate is too. Funny way, we found our way back to municipalities after all this time. The internship would be for a high school student interested. We'd go through a full application process and interview just like you would any other candidate. This would be experience that they would not necessarily have brought forth. They would have a project that they would work on. They would have a supervisor overseeing that. That's all outlined in the policy, as well as a dress code.
So you can't show up in jammy pants.
No jammy pants, no crop tops. So this way we can maybe hopefully stimulate a love for municipality work or what kind of goes into running their town. And maybe hopefully one day see their resume come across our desk for an open position.
We kept it quite broad intentionally
Peter,
as
go ahead.
well.
So is this a paid internship or so it's kind of on the job,
It
pre-training
depends
kind
on
of
the
thing?
situation. Like the first
Oh.
intern under this program is going to be a Fitchburg State student interning with the Board of Health. In their situation, they are paid through a program at their college.
Okay.
So then they are coming in.
So it is a paid internship.
It depends on the situation.
So-
We're not paying.
But not
We
by
We're
am-
not
no.
paying.
Like
It's
student
just-
teaching in a sense.
It's just a broad policy to cover any department that may
Wants
end up
to-
with an intern at some
I was
point.
just saying it's like student teaching.
Right, so I have the intern policy,
I wouldn't know
once you
what's-
guys vote on it, I'm gonna give it to the internship program coordinator at
Yeah.
Quabbin,
Yeah.
and then
Oh, that's
she,
awesome.
is going to help us go from there, so what they'll do is they'll actually get credit for the internship instead of being paid.
They won't be knocking the door down, I'll tell you that.
What kind of credit they get?
I'm not.
Extra.
But
I'm not 100% sure.
Like-
I know how it worked how it works at my old high school with
Yeah.
internship, cause I reached out to them.
I'm thinking volunteer hours.
It's not volunteer hours,
No.
it's actually like credits
That
towards.
was my next question,
class?
what's the length of time that they would be interning?
So they would, for the length of time, it would be the summer, so it would be like,
Oh, for the entire,
it would
okay.
be for the summer.
For high school students.
For high
I've had
school
a college
students.
student, I've had them in the past, they're usually a semester.
Mhm.
Semester.
When I was in high school, they had a program that you could leave in the afternoon and get credits for it. I don't know if they still have that type of deal, but you used to be able to leave right after lunch, do 2-3 classes worth of internship.
Mhm.
Yep, I
Do,
did this.
do you ever get any field calls from like, people wanting to do like a business intern, you know, being town administrator, you gotta kinda have a
Yes.
business knowledge,
Yep.
yeah?
We get calls once in a while. I'd say communities in general
Yeah.
do get calls from anybody interested in entering
Really?
municipal government.
I didn't know
We
that.
are on the smaller side, so usually it'll be a local student or someone that has some connection to the area. I would love for one day to get like a master's level intern to look into our water situation with the state, but that would be a very specific individual, so. But yeah, we get calls once in a while. They're not knocking down the door, but
Yeah.
So I like the policies for sure. I particularly like the orientation piece to it, although at some point you're probably gonna wanna come with the video, cause you're not gonna one-off it
Yeah.
all day.
I already talked to Brittany about that.
Yeah.
The only
Watch
thing,
this
I only have
computer-based learning.
two comments. One is I didn't see in there, maybe it's there and I missed it, just making sure we have the I-Corey requirement, right? That we run a Corey background on the
Yep.
person.
Anybody that we onboard, they have to fill out a query. It's on our onboarding policy, so that
yeah, it's in
kind
the
of,
personnel policy.
it's in the personnel policy, so that would be the next.
And then the second thing, which you guys probably already know and you're probably aware, just making sure that we're not having any interns do what would be considered union work.
Correct. Like, I'm not gonna get a,
Intern to go mow lawns.
If you wanna
Exactly.
be a DPW intern, we'll take you any day.
well,
Well,
they
you have to negotiate with the union.
I didn't wanna step on Mountie Tech's toes because they already have that program in place for DPWs, at Mountie Tech. I didn't wanna step on those toes. This is more the administrative side than maybe police station or anything like that, especially with like police and fire. You're now running into, records that can't be shared. They're no longer a matter of public record, they're sealed, so this is primarily just administrative side to help, teach, the younger
Share
generation.
the love of municipalities, totally get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything else on this?
So to be clear,
Mhm.
this is a new policy,
Mhm.
and there's no cost to the town for it. Okay.
So
It's a
could we have,
labor of love, how about that?
And no jammy dance.
And no jamming.
That's actually the only rule.
if the board so desires, could we have a motion to adopt the internship program policy as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Yes, opposed? Motion passed. Under matters not reasonably anticipated, originally, we had something because we didn't know Kelly was gonna be here. So unless there's something else.
Mr. MRPC Chairman appointee, if you wanna come up.
So this is a brief one, cause I don't think we're gonna have an answer for tonight. So, for the benefit of the public, there are regional planning organizations. Ours is called MRPC, the Montechusett Regional Planning Commission. I am the town's primary representative to the commission. The current alternative representative is Mark Kresge, who's no longer employed by the town. There's also another committee that is part of MRPC that we participate in called MJTC. And MJTC is the Montechusett Joint Transportation Committee. It's a planning group that primarily talks about issues related to transportation, to not go into too much detail for the public. Where it is super important is that the MJTC and the discussions that happened there were ultimately what led to the funding that was used for our downtown project. So it is important for us to have representation there, if for no other purpose, than when a funding opportunity goes by to go, yeah, no, we're interested in that. So ultimately, that committee needs 2 appointments. Now, these appointments are technically made by the select board, although for the primary commissioner role, that person needs to come from the planning board. As Nate had suggested, I would be happy to stay on as the primary representative to the commission, which also has some benefits to it because the slate of officers for MRPC has been presented for the next meeting to be confirmed by vote. And I am currently on the top of the slate as the next chair of MRPC.
Congratulations.
So
You really stick it to him if you take him off right now.
So, yeah,
Don't do
so, assuming everything goes on course, that'll be good for the town because we've been working to better reintegrate ourselves into the MRPC community, and it's been one of my main projects in the time I've been on the planning board. And I'm just about to enter my last year, and I've been working pretty hard on it for all 4 of those years, so we're finally getting there. So I think it's gonna mean good things for the town in the long run.
Excellent.
But we do need an alternate.
And if you remember, Chris, last year at some point, we changed out Mark with Patricia.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Patricia, you haven't been at the meetings.
But a little busy.
According to this document that I don't know what it is, which showed me she's good until the annual town election of 2026.
This is, oh, sorry, Nate, I didn't mean to knock over your name tag. This is just the, reappointment list that everybody got their reappointment emails sent out. So I have listed here for MRPC is yourself. And then, the alternate is me. And then for the Joint Transportation Committee, it's Travis and Mr. Russell. But if that is different than what you have, I will be happy to change the document.
So does that mean we're all set?
I'll need to look, I think the commission might have something different on file.
Okay.
So,
This I
We-
pulled from Mel, so.
so we don't specifically need an action from the select board tonight.
Okay.
But we need to be ready to go on it because we have to file the updated appointments with MRPC by July 1st. And with the election, that gives us a very small time frame. Means we kind of have to have an idea of what we're doing, and then as soon as the election happens and the boards have reorganized, we need to do it so that we can get those on file.
Well, so is it just a matter of reappointment on the part of us for both of you?
Well, we need to check and make sure what MRPC has on file matches, and I'll take a look at that between now.
So
and
that would have been the town sending MRPC something official saying that we voted for blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and there have been some snafus over the years where we have sent an update and it hasn't necessarily been recorded. I think it was when Patricia and I looked at it last time, I thought Dan Galante was still on for the MG.
But this would have to be taken care of by July 2nd, right?
July 1st.
By July 1st.
Yeah, I think that's.
We only have one more meeting, that's why I'm asking this. We only have one more meeting, which is June 16th.
Which
We
is
won't-
before
After that, we
elections.
won't be meeting again until after July.
July, yeah.
So
Yeah, but I think
it's either
We're gonna do our
tonight
annual
or
appointments then, aren't we?
So-
Yeah.
at
Yeah,
our
we're
next
gonna
meeting.
we're gonna do
think we're
annual
okay.
appointments at our next meeting, correct?
The 16th of June.
So
Yes.
that way
Okay,
you're good
so
to
we'll
go
take care of it
July.
then.
So what are the dates on those appointments now? When does it run out, this year?
June 30th, so
June 30th.
usually you roll the annual appointments unless there's
Into the
multiple
following
year
year,
appointments
yeah.
that it's a 1 year, we usually do them in June.
Yeah.
So they take effect for July and then go from then, you have time to get them sworn in by 2 weeks before July.
Yeah,
And with this, it's the first time we're using the new system for that too. Your appointments are going to be automated and it's going to remind you when your appointment comes up to
Good.
reapply now. It's another thing that Leanne and I have been working on coding for, and it should be very interesting. That's
That was
also,
into
you'll
your
notice, there's going to be a switch. That's how we're going to be accepting things like wage requests and appointments and staff members as well, and it automates itself through
That's
the whole
awesome.
process.
so, I know we've run into problems in the past with trying to get people sworn in, and you got a little tickler there
That's
somewhere
what
in your
this
system?
is solving.
Thank you.
That's the whole deal. Like,
Peter looked a good tickler.
So let's make sure that this is also on the agenda for the next meeting, that this
it's
includes.
part of the
Packet.
part of the packet for the appointments.
Okay,
Yeah, I have a whole packet for you to go on.
okay, so that will cover that, okay.
And we'll have Leanne follow up, Leanne and I will follow up with the commission.
Sounds
To
good.
make sure what
like
is on
fun.
file there matches what we think there should be.
Very good. Anything else under matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I got a couple of concerns brought to me by a constituent about the new town hall up the road here. One of them, Nate, I think you addressed in your TA report. There's some sort of a berm or a lip
Yeah.
on a walkway. You said Monty Tech was coming out when?
This week. Travis didn't know exactly when, but he had a voicemail from over the weekend from the gentleman at Monty Tech stating that they were gonna do it this week. So they will be removing the 2 berms on the back of what I call the breezeways.
Yeah.
Then, so that anyone that wished to park in the back, which will be handicap parking, 2 on one side and 1 or 2 on the other, can get up that berm easily.
Okay. Very good, thank you. And then there was a concern about the drop box and where it's located and
So
how
to,
it cannot be accessed
to
from.
be completely honest, we thought we were doing a good thing. And then after looking at it, the Dropbox is not ADA compliant. The DPW team is going to be moving it to right on top of the berm.
Okay.
So right in front of Melody and Leanne's door, the left side door. Once you come up, it'll be right there.
And that corrects that ADA
It will,
situation?
and cause if it wasn't on a giant dirt pile,
It would be-
3 feet back, it would be appropriate height to meet ADA
So is it gonna
standards.
be out back in the parking lot or under the overhang?
Under the awning.
On the
Take it out of
opposite
your
side.
car, walk up,
Yeah, so you're
drop
gonna
it
have
off.
to, so you're gonna need a sign to point people to that direction because they're not gonna be able to see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got action plans to bring both of those things into ADA compliance?
Yep, and we have action plans across the board in general. There is a ADA compliance grant coming next month that we will be able to apply for, even though we will not have our final ADA report. I reached out to the State Department of Disability, whatever their acronym is, and asked if we could apply with a draft report, and they said yes. So I will be looking to put in a couple of applications based on the draft report's findings, which will be, I think he said the end of June.
Okay.
Very good, thank you.
Anything else under things not anticipated? Okay, then, public press, we don't have any. Seeing that, we have.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to
Second.
adjourn, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.